Hi there, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Today, Heller Consulting and Round Corner and Alliance to Save Energy, we're here talking to you about the connected nonprofit and fundraising with NGOConnect. So again, thank you very much for joining us. We'll hope you get some great information about this. We'll definitely have time for questions at the end. So please put your questions into the question window of GoToWebinar and we'll be answering those. Today's presenters are Joe Jagasar from Alliance to Save Energy. Joe is the Senior Program Manager of Marketing Technologies, and he is responsible for the strategy, developing, and implementing all the web-based solutions for from their website to CRMs and everything that they do there at Alliance to Save Energy. We also have with us today Nick Ward. He's the chairman and founder of Round Corner, and he's one of the driving forces behind NGOConnect. He's not only been making the tools, but he's also using them as serving on the boards of a number of state and national nonprofit organizations. Also from Round Corner is Stuart Longley. Stuart worked for the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation in various fundraising and technology roles, and now is Associate Director of Business Development at Round Corner. And then bringing up the tail end is Keith Heller of Heller Consulting. He has been working with nonprofits for 18, 19 years now and helping them leverage their technology to support their mission and creating more efficient and effective organizations. But to start off today, let's start off with a question for you. And what I want to ask is, which of these most closely resembles your organizational and constituent relationship management tools? Keith, why don't you tell us a little bit about the different options here?
Thanks, Brian, and don't think I didn't notice that you called me the tail. That'll be coming up in review. Um, well, thanks to everybody for joining us today, and really appreciate you giving us some of your time and attention. And a big thanks to Nick and Stuart and Joe for being on the presentation today. So, first question we have for you. Which of these describes your constituent relationship management tools? And constituent relationship management, the acronym is CRM, and the basic concept around that is a strategy and systems to connect with all your constituents across your organization. So currently, which of these most looks like your environment? Single coordinated systems, sharing data across departments, a few connected systems, and then you got some spreadsheets off on the side. Don't worry about admitting to that. Everybody's got a few. Data from various databases, and when you want to pull information across databases, really you're having to go into a customer reporting system, Access, again, Excel, or the last one. It's a funny way of saying it's a little chaotic out there. So please pick one, and we'll tally up the results and let you know later. And you are not being, this is all anonymous. So let's talk a little bit about, with that CRM concept, the strategy and goal is that you would have a unified view of your different constituents and the same constituent as they interact with different aspects of your organization. But this is what a lot of us have currently. This represents silos in an organization. We might have the same prospect or donor or client in multiple systems: our donor system, our all-in engagement system, our mission or program management system, and there's many more besides this. And you'll notice the constituent we have here today is Kevin Bacon. So if you thought he looked familiar, absolutely, he's feeling particularly footloose today. That's a throwback reference for those of us who are my generation. And the reason we picked Kevin Bacon is he's a touch point for the concept of connecting with constituents, right? There was a whole series of conversations about the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, 6 degrees of separation, and that, in fact, we're all end up being connected to him somehow. But in this slide, while your organization is connected to Kevin, connected in multiple ways, and you're not actually aware of it, which is a pretty standard situation, but a pretty difficult one to operate in. So to try to move out of that, you have to take a step back. If you'd advance, Brian. What you want to do when you're moving towards CRM is put your constituents at the center of your consideration and think about what experience do you want your constituents to have with you? How do you want them to feel connected and engaged by your organization, understanding that there are going to be multiple touch points. And fundamentally, you want them to have a unifying experience. You don't want their experience to feel fractured, or like the right hand, the left hand, the middle hand, the top hand, the bottom hand don't know that they are part of your community. So put them at the center, and then you can start to make decisions about your systems. Advance, please, Ryan. So when you have your constituent at the center, then you can decide what donor management system do I want, what online engagement capacities do I want, what do I want to manage my program and mission. But when you put the constituent at the center, you'll find that the decisions that you make may be different than if you put each department's preferences, perhaps, at the center of the decision-making process. But when you put that constituent at the center, you'll be building a set of systems and a strategy that allows you to really engage and give them the best possible experience of your organization, which in turn will help them to provide the best relationship to you, whether that's as a volunteer, as an advocate, as a supporter and fundraiser, et cetera. And now Salesforce and the Salesforce Foundation have a vision for this, which they call the Connected Nonprofit. And this relates to the NGOConnect product. They have offered us a framework of connected programs, connected partners, connected staff, and connected supporters. And today we're going to be talking about that final one, connected supporters, and about fundraising and that key pillar in an organization. So I believe we have another question for you, another survey here. So around your fundraising strategy, what best describes the systems you use? Now, likely you have multiple of these systems, so please do feel free to check multiple boxes here, and we'll give you a minute or so here, and then again, this is something we'll tally up and share later. We're just going to assume that everyone also uses Excel. That's just a given. Now, it is our mission and passion, those of us on this call, to move us all off of Excel and into a better solution. But for today, we're going to assume that that's part of your mix. All right, Brian, since you won't let me vote, I'm going to suggest that we...
Yep, there we go.
So the last slide I'm going to talk about is just, again, providing some context. Salesforce One for Nonprofits is a framework for helping nonprofits unlock the full power of the Salesforce platform to organize and mobilize their organization and mission. And there are 4 pillars to this: program management, community engagement, marketing communications, and fundraising. And under each of these, you'll see there are multiple ways that the platform can support your organization. That's important to keep in mind as we look at that 4th pillar today, fundraising, because leveraging a full CRM platform that Salesforce offers can support fundraising in ways we never thought of before. If we're able to combine data on constituents across the organization, all of a sudden we're going to have fundraising opportunities that did not exist for us in the past. So it's a very exciting movement in the nonprofit sector, and we're going to be talking more about it over time. But today, let's start with fundraising because it's key to all of us. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to my co-presenters.
So next up for us today, Joe, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you've done with Alliance to Save Energy?
It's been quite the story. As many people probably on this call, at a nonprofit, you wear many, many hats. It's kind of par for the course. So I guess I'll talk a little bit about how I got my Salesforce hat. I actually came on board to the Alliance about 4 years ago as webmaster, web developer, but my first project was dealing with Kintera, or as some people know it, Blackbaud Sphere. Right as I had joined, they had just signed a contract to move to Convio's Illuminate Online system, which did things that Conterra didn't do for us. It sent emails out on time, and its web forms were a lot better than Conterra's. But there was one problem there. No one looked at how we would do relation management, or for us, our primary function, our member management. And so it became really hard for us to communicate effectively with our member organizations and the employees at those member organizations. The solution was then, because we were on that platform, to deploy what was Common Ground, which is now, I think, Blackbaud CRM or something to that effect. But if those of you don't know, the product's built on Salesforce. And suddenly, there's like this whole world opened up to us. We could build whatever we wanted. We could make reports that ran themselves. And we could communicate within the context of a particular donor or opportunity, grant, all within that, and have the context of the opportunity. We quickly realized that all this function wasn't Convio Illuminate function. It was inherent Salesforce function. And so we were going to go and try and leverage it all. There was a small problem there, though. Right around the time we really started picking up in the Salesforce realm, we hit an iceberg as an organization. TARP, there was a lot of money being funneled through the government, through the TARP Act, and that ran out. We ended up having to spin off a bunch of our programs into their own organizations. We lost 50% of our unrestricted staff, and these were the people most poised to leverage Salesforce: the events folks, the development folks, the communications folks, the marketing folks, the corporate relations. And so we really had to embrace our motto of using less and doing more. With us so diminished, we really had no choice but to go back to what we were talking about before and break down those silos, because now everyone across the organization was scrambling to fill in the gaps. We had development people hosting events, policy people doing marketing communications. Wherever you could help, that's where you went. And so by using all the functionality that Salesforce provided us, we were able to standardize on a system that everyone could access, everyone could train in at once, and it was a really easy win for us. Sorry, lost my train of thought there. So when it came time to renew, we looked at Convio and said, all right, what is Convio, what is Salesforce? And we said, well, everything we like is Salesforce. Why don't we look at Salesforce and say, what can we add on to that we need? And so that's where the conversation started with NGOConnect. We actually came across it while talking to Heller, primarily because their relationship is so close with Round Corner. And I think at the time they were the only developer that had any viable deployments of it. So they were really nice enough to deploy for us. We looked through a number of products. We looked through association products, but they didn't do online donations or events. We looked through events products, and they didn't do anything but events. The biggest selling point for us, though, was their membership functionality. We're a membership organization. That's where most of our funding comes from. And that's one thing they did really well, and they did all the other stuff we needed them to do as well. I mean, there were some stumbling blocks. NGOConnect is not the only product we deployed. We deployed a number of other fully Salesforce integrated products, which allowed us to create that constituent concentric view of Kevin Bacon. But nowadays I can say that despite the 50% reduction in staff, we've managed to maintain near the same level of funding, put on just as many events, and streamline our communications. And the icing on the cake for us was the fact that by moving to NGOConnect, and even with related products, it actually costs us half of what we were paying before.
That's a big change.
Yeah.
That all sounds awesome, Joe. Can Nick, why don't you tell us a little bit more about NGOConnect from your side? So obviously you've been working to develop this and create this. Tell us a little bit more about it.
Well, at its core, it's exactly what Joe and Keith have said. It's really about putting the constituent in the center of your operation. When Keith and I started talking about this, maybe 5-6 years ago, CRM was not a very well accepted term, and there wasn't common understanding of what the C was. Was the C donor management? Was it board management? Was it constituent management? Constituent was the term that we settled on, but the fact that there wasn't a widely embraced term at that time is really an indication that this new way of thinking about how an organization operates as a connected operation, as a connected nonprofit, is fairly new lens for most of the organizations that we're working with, because in the past they were organized and their information was organized according to their individual business processes, and it was a business process centric, broadcast out way of thinking instead of coming in from the inside with the constituent at the center. So the core of NGOConnect was building a system that started with the constituent and then added the key pieces that Joe and others have needed, which is how do you create gifts, how can you build the right online forms, can you manage events, will it give you the kind of reporting that you're looking for on a consistent and regular basis, all at a user-driven level, so that each individual who's a part of the organization can see the information that they need to see, can execute their own work process and their own workflow, all drawing from the same single source of the truth and all contributing to the continued enrichment of that single source of the truth, which is the constituent record. Stuart, I think you're going to show us some of that and show the basic architecture and do a quick demo of how these pieces come together.
Absolutely. Thank you, Nick. So before we get into the demonstration today, I want to go through a quick slide to give you an idea for how we've built the solution and what's included in the product. Salesforce gives us a lot of flexibility with what we can do and how we can build it. And so when we approach building a robust donor management and constituent engagement system, we decided to build out different packages. And these packages allow our clients to really pick and choose the functionality that they want to have within their system and really tailor it to exactly what they need. The first one of these packages, and really the foundational package for NGOConnect, is the biographical package. And this is all about complex relationship management, complex people management, understanding organizations you work with, households, and the donors you have within them. And then we have additional package called Giving, which you'll see on the screen here. This is the most fundraising specific package, and this is where lots of complex gift management, gift entry, gift processing exists, moves management, major donor focused things, as well as corporate development, and others we'll take a look at today. We have a campaigns package. For those of you who are not familiar with Salesforce, Salesforce defines campaigns as any sort of marketing or outreach activity. So what we did is we took that concept and made it much more fundraising and engagement specific by adding additional functionality there. We have some additional packages that come with the solution, and you can pick and choose from as you need. We have volunteer management. That package has been seeing a great deal of attention lately with some very large clients like Girl Scouts of America and the International Rescue Committee reviewing and helping us enhance that particular package. We have events, and an events package is really meant to allow you to have any type of event, from a little meet and greet event all the way up to a multi-day conference. Galas fit very nicely into that functionality in the package as well. Inventory is going to be for premium items, so a $100 donation entitles you to something, maybe a tote bag or a calendar, something of that nature, or a membership. You keep track of all those items, fulfillment and shipments of those within the inventory package. We have RC Labs, which contains sort of widgets we've created, which aren't quite big enough to be their own package, but functionality our clients may like to use. It's available to our entire client base free of charge. We have a very complex reporting and dashboarding built into the solution, and that's all based off of standard Salesforce functionality, and then we've enhanced that with query tools and a number of other things to really give you flexibility in accessing your data and using your data how you want. And then the final piece of the solution is actually a secondary product called NGOConnect, which is for grant providers, grant makers, so they can manage the grant provider lifecycle for accepting applications and then following that through with impact reporting and all the things that go into providing grants. And then we have a roadmap that goes along with all these products. We are constantly enhancing our solutions, and we have a scheduled release several times a year for new functionality. So the tool is constantly being improved. And with that, that's the last slide, and we'll get into the demonstration. Just as soon as I have controls.
It's coming over.
Thank you, Brian. Okay, I'm just going to check quickly with the panelists. Can everyone see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, great. So I've just logged into Salesforce, and this is the first place that most everyone goes. We call this the Home tab. And for those of you who aren't familiar with Salesforce, I'll run through the general user interface and some of the highlights on the Home tab, and then we'll get into more nonprofit specific functionality we've built into the tool. For those of you who have seen Salesforce, this will look very familiar. We do build everything on top of Salesforce, so all the native functionality that comes with the platform, as well as anything that Salesforce creates with their $500 million a year research and development budget will be available to our clients as it is released. So on the Home tab, we'll start at the top. We have the search tool, and you can really think of this as Google for your Salesforce database. I'm able to pull up donor records, donations, major gift prospecting records, and a number of other things just by typing in Richard's name. We're going to get to know Richard a little bit better today. You'll also note that this doesn't just have to do with contacts and dollars. We also have batch upload records here. So importing data into the system, if you do batch entry of checks, we have functionality for that as well. And so you can really get to anything you want within the solution using the universal search at the top of the tool. Moving down, we have the objects bar. This is going to be all the different areas of the system or modules that you have access to. Depending on who you have accessing the system, you can do a lot of things around security. Who can access what? Can they read only or write to those fields and data points? Should people have access to certain things or not? You can also configure this bar to show exactly what an individual user would like, and they can personalize that themselves. Along the left-hand side, we have the recent items bar, which is a really great navigation tool, and you'll see me use it today to click through different records, and you can see here Kevin Bacon, the theme of the day. And then I'll highlight the dashboards. Dashboards are visual representations of any data you have in the system. They're built off of reports, and all the data you have in Salesforce runs in real time. So you don't have to wait for nightly syncs to run. You don't have to wait for somebody to run a query to get your data. If I want to see the data in my dashboard as it exists the minute I click this button, it'll show up. So they're extremely powerful, and they're extremely dynamic. You can really build them for anyone or for any purpose within the tool. I have a few for marketing and fundraising purposes. You could have them for volunteer engagement, for event management, and major donor prospecting, etc.
Yeah, actually, I was over here at ASE, something we're constantly asked for. Our president, our VPs are constantly asking for event attendance. How's our attendance looking? Easy dashboard, log in, and they get to see it daily where our registration numbers are at.
And you can also have them emailed out to folks as well. So they don't even have to log into the system. They can wake up in the morning, check their phone, see the reports and dashboards on that, and go about their day. And these can really help drive what you do within the system, because you might log in and see, oh, we had a lot of donations coming last night. Let's see what's in the news, if there's something we did to help drive that. Or you can use them for a number of different things. And certainly keeping management happy is a very important one. So with that, we'll go into an individual's record. For the sake of time and loading pages, I've already loaded some of these as tabs. But we can already see on the recent items bar, Richard here. I can click on his record and it will load his individual record. We can see we moved into the contacts module here. And so on this page, we're just looking at individuals. And in this case, Richard Perkins is the donor we're going to be looking at today. And so on this page, we see a lot of different information. And we've built this page using all standard Salesforce functionality, so you have a lot of control over what appears where. You can move fields around, you can add custom fields, you can change around sections, relabel things. You have a great deal of control over these pages, and you can have different pages for different individuals within your organization. On this page, you'll see contact information, a number of different things. One thing I wanted to highlight today is our relationship management tool. This is really a fantastic tool because it allows you to link all the different entities you have in your data set to one another and understand those linkages. So you can really get those 6 degrees of separation, those 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. So here we can see Richard's alma mater. We can see all of his family members that we've linked him to in the solution. We can see his employer. So we're keeping track of individuals as well as other entities, and we're able to understand what those relationships, what relationships Richard has to those individuals or entities. Now the way we've built this is extremely flexible, so our clients are able to add to these lists or remove from them as they need, as well as relabel things. So for example, we're keeping track of Richard and Lynn as partner. It could just easily be spouse, husband and wife, wife and husband, whatever it is that you would like to track, however it is that you'd like to track them. We really don't want our clients to conform their business practice to the solution. We want the solution to conform to our client's business practice. So giving you the flexibility to do what you want with the tool is really important to how we built the solution. Going along the lines of the relationships tool, we have a visualization tool that comes with this. So this is where we can really see Richard's 6 degrees of separation and understand his network, where he's influential, if he has any influential friends, etc. And we can see different gifts and entities that he's associated with. Before the demonstration, I actually set up one where we can see the connection that Richard has between himself and Kevin Bacon. So we can actually see, if we're interested in knowing if Richard had a connection to Kevin Bacon, we can actually see those degrees of separation. Maybe you would like to do some major donor prospecting and see what kind of connections he has, and if you have any other engaged donors that could speak to that potential major donor, you can use this tool to really understand this network and how best to approach an individual in that way. It can also be used for creating guest lists for campaigns or invitations or events, things of that nature as well.
Yeah, actually, we use it to. We've actually more than once found out that our corporate members have, functions at other nonprofits or work with certain foundations through that related list, and have been able to leverage that relationship to gain some more funding there.
Mm-hmm. I used to work in corporate development, and if I had had that tool, I would have used it nonstop to see who is connected to what corporation, if we could develop a stronger relationship there as well. Some other things we have on the contacts record are the ability to have as many addresses as you'd like, and these can be seasonal and really powerful for snowbirds as well as people with additional houses. We also have the ability to have as many salutations as you like, and this can be really powerful working within your organization just so you're not fighting over a salutation field. Each department can have their own salutation. Each type of communication can have the appropriate salutation, and really streamline a lot of processes and reporting and direct mail or email or whatever it might be.
And
Then
real
the final
quick,
part.
Stuart,
Oh, go ahead, Brian.
somebody sent in a quick question. Sophie sent this in. You see the active checkbox down there under contact owner. What does that mean?
Sure. So the active checkbox can mean several different things depending on what the organization would like to do with it. So in the case of an individual's record, he is somebody that we actively want to engage with. So Richard's engaged with the organization. Some organizations like to archive off data. So what they do is they mark an individual as inactive and then archive off that data so they don't have it all stored in the cloud. It cleans up their data set a little bit. In other places, we have active checkboxes for addresses. And we can use this to know, to keep track of current and historical addresses. So in the case of Richard, maybe he moves from New York to Chicago. We would mark his New York address as inactive and then his Chicago address as the new active address. So in that way we don't lose information, and we can and you can use that again for a number of different purposes for engagement or constituent intelligence, whatever it is the organization might need.
I was going to say that it's actually the way addresses is stored is very handy if you have large member organizations like we do, where you can have a single address for that entire organization and let all the employees associate to that address. So if anything ever changes, it flows to everyone at one easy click.
That is handy. The final thing I'll show you on the contacts record is preferences. And preferences is one of my favorite parts of the system. I could talk about it all day, so I'll try not to. But this is really a fantastic place to keep track of all the dynamic biographical information you might be capturing about people in spreadsheets or an email or in free text field somewhere that are really useful and really mission critical, but aren't really made actionable. So with the preferences solution, everything is built with pick list values that are predefined. And since they're built in pick lists, it's very easy to run reports on data points and use that for segmentation or for analytics or for engagement strategies, whatever it may be. And preferences goes way beyond just how they like to be communicated. It can be the types of things they're interested in learning more about within your organization. It might be things about how they want to volunteer. It might be education history. They've been a board member when they were and what boards they were on. And we can see we have active and inactive preferences as well here. So we know that Richard was on the finance committee up until a little earlier this year.
I was going to say the preference.
Joe, you're making some interesting use of this as well. Joe, could you tell us how you use it?
Yeah, the preferences object is like you said, the like one-off data that you're kind of keeping everywhere. Because these are dependent pick lists, you can kind of structure that data and edit it however you need. And we had a need for we run education programs in both K through 12 and colleges. And this has allowed us to keep track of the different programs the students are in, our campus interns, and then when they roll off to alumni, it allows us to follow them and see if the program has had impact through them getting hired in a particular field. Yeah, this is the best object because it is so flexible.
Thank you, Joe. And I pulled one up just to give everyone a little bit better idea of how it functions. So here we have one based off interest, but if I change this to, say, board and trustee, we're going to keep track of Richard's another committee that he's on. Every time I choose a pick list, it is relevant to the parent pick list. And every time I choose a new one, it allows me to drill down into another level of detail. So I can drill down into all the different committees that Richard's on. I can note the dates that his term will be on that will be for that committee. Maybe I want to keep track of an interest. I can go through the process of identifying the different interests that I want to keep track of and drill down into all those different levels. In this case, I can keep track of the type of music that Richard likes to listen to, which might be really important for engagement purposes. It might just be a detail about Richard that we want to record, so when we engage with him in the future, we know him. So I'm probably talking about preferences too much. I love preferences.
No, but there's been a lot of talk in the past about building one-to-one intimate relationships with people. In the past, that's only been possible with the very high-touch major gift kinds of relationships. Increasingly, constituents will tell you through social media and through the ways that they engage with you all kinds of things about what is most important to them and what they care about and how they want to be engaged. Using these dependent pick lists in the right way is a way of enabling you to have essentially one-to-one intimate relationships with all of your constituents.
Absolutely. And another important thing to note about preferences and a lot of other data points within the system is that they can be generated automatically. It doesn't just have to be users clicking through and recording things. If somebody attends a golf event, you can have a preference automatically noted that they're interested in golf and anything engaging around golf in the future would be there. Or maybe they attended an event about a particular environmental issue. You can have preferences added to the record that record that type of thing. And then when you run your lists for communications, you can pull from those things and have all those new people added there. You don't have to try to pull it from 12 different places. It's all centralized on their contact record. And the final thing around preferences, which is really powerful, is badges. The badges are driven off of preferences. So we can see here we have a badge for Scuba Certified, and we have a badge here based off that preference. Round Cause comes with over 25 badges right out of the box, and you can add additional custom badges as you need. So in the past, a lot of systems had codes. That's how you kept track of people and what they were about. What we did is took that a step farther and made it much more user-friendly by having different badges associated to preferences. So you don't have to remember that 05C3Q is, no phone calls. We have a badge for that instead. So that is the contact record at a high level. And what I want to do is move on to take a look at a household record. So within within NGOConnect, we have a two-tiered structure for constituent management. We have individuals and keeping track of them. And then you'll see we moved into a different object here to accounts. And within the solution, we have two types of accounts. We have household accounts for keeping track of contacts and their families. And we also have organization accounts, which we use to keep track of a Wells Fargo or a foundation that may be funding you, or a government body, a university, any entity you may be engaged with for fundraising or engagement purposes. And at the household level, we can see Richard's family here. We can also see their multiple addresses, additional salutations, and additional preferences. We also have those badges, and we have different badges at the household level. So you can engage with individuals and with households and families in different ways. Some individuals within the household may have very specific preferences and interests. You can engage with them on an individual basis. Other organizations might be just concerned with engaging at the household or organization level, which is something ACE does quite a bit of, Alliance to Save Energy. And so they can have all that same functionality at the organization level. We also have those fantastic relationships and roll-up and summary fields around gift histories. And here we can see the number of dollars that have been given over time with various fields to denote lifetime versus current year, first gift, last gift, those type of things with dates associated with them, and counts of gifts. You can use this information obviously for so many different things. We also accommodate soft crediting, and we have roll-ups for those as well, so we can see if they've been soft credited anything. Maybe they were able to get their friends to give gifts. We want to soft credit them for that, or maybe they donated some things to the auction for an event, and we want to make sure we give them soft credits for the number of dollars that were raised from the auction items. And we also have summaries, so we can see all the various gifts over time, what status they are in. And again, some of these things are for memberships, and others are for donations. So over time, we can see status bars of gifts and things of that nature.
That actually was the big selling point for us, and when I talked about earlier about having that built-in membership function, is when our corporate relations team saw this, they were like, "Oh my God, finally!" Rather than just a random field on an account saying you are a member or you aren't a member. Now it's actually related to, have you paid your dues? What level are you at? And then on top of that, when reporting, it automatically calculates things like, were you a member last year? Therefore you renewed. Are you a new member? Did you lapse and came back? There's a ton of functionality in summaries that is amazing.
Thank you, Joe. And since we're talking about dollars, I guess we should check out fundraising a little bit. And so let's go over to our giving tree. So the giving tree is a tool that we've created within Salesforce that gives a visual representation of a donor or family's gifts over time. And we can see all those gifts here. We see completed gifts in green, outstanding gifts in yellow, and Richard has a couple outstanding pledges we should probably follow up with him about. We can also see if anything was lost or refunded in red. A lost gift might be a major donor proposal that they declined, and so we can keep track of that in their gift history, and we obviously can use that information to re-engage or not, depending on the best course of action.
And
scrolling down the page, yep.
We've had a couple questions on it. So it can track pledges as well?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
We'll actually talk about gift types in 1 second. I know we've talked about kind of general donations and memberships. We have a lot more than just those two, so we'll take a look at those in one moment. And scrolling down, we can see their gift history, and we can see if they have a recurring gift, we can see all the installments for the particular donation and the apparent donation for each installment. And I can hide those transactions and just see their overall gift history and different types of gifts here. You can see gifts in kind, memberships, a major donor proposal, single donations, recurring donations, and several others. And while we're on the topic of different types of gifts, we have several within the solution. The first of which, and one of my favorites due to my history at JDRF, is corporate underwriting. And this is all about corporate sponsorships. And this has two components. Moves management, going after the corporate gift and going through the relationship building and things that need to be done to actually be awarded a corporate gift or corporate sponsorship. And then stewarding and managing the corporation after the gift has been received, as well as managing the dollars, and the dollars are coming in, and any milestones or items that need to be completed as part of the sponsorship. We have donations, and this is single or recurring donations, online or offline. We can accommodate many different payment types, including stock, EFT, credit card, cash or check, and anything else you'd like. We have a client accepting Bitcoin for donation. They have it as a payment method within the solution. We have grants, and this is going to be the process of going through the moves to be awarded a grant, not providing a grant. So similar to corporate underwriting, we're going to go through the process of identifying a grant opportunity, stewarding that through, hopefully being awarded a grant, keeping track of all the dates and milestones and information that we need to provide for the application. And then after we hopefully win that grant, managing the dollars in and the milestones that go along with completing a grant. Gifts in kind, law firm hours that are being donated, or someone donates a car or a golf outing for an event or something of that nature. We can keep track of those types of gifts as well. Membership, which we've heard about a little bit from Alliance to Save Energy. We have proposals, and these are going to be for major donors. So going a lot of heavy moves management built into this, as well as action plans, which are predefined steps or templates that you'll go through to in any given major donor effort. And those can be configured and customized based on the particular proposal that you're presenting to the major donor. So all the moves management there, and again, managing the gift after it's been received. And then purchases, if you sell any items for fundraising purposes, we can also keep track of those within the tool, something a lot of our public media clients take advantage of. So that's a very brief description of all the different types of gifts we have in the solution. We have a few minutes left, and I thought we'd take a look at our web form builder, so you can see how to build an online form that's all based off Salesforce, and all the data feeds directly into your system. The nice thing with this is you don't have to be a web developer to build a form, a donation form, or any other type of online form or web page. Some clients do use this for microsites. To give you an idea of this form, I built it in about 45 minutes, and I was an anthropology major in college. I have no web development skills whatsoever, and I'm rather proud of this form, however simple it may be. And so within the form building tool, we have a few different components. We have the ability to have multiple pages for a given form, whether it's a donation form or just a microsite page. We have the View tab, where we can see what our page will look like on the internet. We have an Edit tab, which is really the meat of the tool, because this is all drag and drop and very easy to build a page exactly how you like it to be. We can edit text in line and have that added to the page. It's just that simple. We can move around components and add them to other areas of the page if we'd like. We can add any field within the solution, and we can add around sections. I can drag around fields if I'd like, and really tailor this to be exactly how I'd like to be. If I don't like the way the font looks, or I don't like the way that the things are lined up, we have a whole edit screen here where you can define exactly how you'd like the page to look. Obviously, for donation form, we want to make sure we keep track of different types of gifts that can be given within the form. In this case, we have two options for one-time payment or a monthly payment, a monthly recurring gift, and obviously the ability to add in other amounts as needed. And the system will automatically define a one-time payment for this person once they do fill out the form. If I want to add fields to this, it's as simple as going to our menu over here and choosing what we want to have, what element we want added to this form. We can add HTML, images, postal address blocks, external links, and a number of other advanced things around CSS, JavaScript, and HTML, all web programming languages. But if I just want to grab a field from the data set, maybe I want to grab that all-important email opt-out field, I can choose the field. I can see where it's going to go in the system. I can relabel it however I'd like. I can define which column I'd like it to be in. I have a two-column form. I can add that element, and then there's my checkbox, and it'll be on my web form for when my donors decide to send money. If I want to have fields required, just as easy as choosing the little red icon here. And we can accommodate all sorts of different types of fields, whether it's a drop-down list or free text field, a number field, buttons. Obviously, all those things are within the form. And I can have multiple columns. I can move things around within columns back and forth and really get a really nice feel and design for the page exactly the way I'd like it. The last piece here is going to be a button to process payment. And you'll see here that I'm using a workflow to process this payment. So this is really the third part of the form building process, is defining your different workflows. And the thing I love about this is you don't have to be a coder to be able to create a workflow for your web form. So in this case, we have a very simple interface to define what happens when a button is clicked. In this case, we want to make sure that we're going to process that payment, and we can choose from various payment processors we have within the solution. You can save the data directly to the system. We can redirect to other pages if everything is successful processing the payment. If it's not successful, we can define what's going to happen then and what path that particular individual is going to go down. Maybe they entered a credit card incorrectly when send an error message, something of that nature. We can add many different items and actions here as well, including sending them an automatic email with a thank you. And then once we're happy with our form and the various pages that we've already defined, we can click Save, and we can see it up on the internet. The last piece I wanted to cover, and something else that Alliance to Save Energy uses, is events management. And within the tool, we have an end-to-end events management solution that is really meant to handle any type of event, as I mentioned earlier. We initially designed it for galas, so it handles galas really, really well. But it's been expanded out to accommodate many, many different types of gifts. St. Jude Children's Hospital, for example, manages over 30,000 events a year using our events management solution. So it can scale, and it can handle lots of different types of events. I think they run like 12 different kinds of events.
I can only hope that we eventually have that many events.
Me too, and they're obviously a serious power user of the tool, which we're really, really proud to help them fulfill their mission. You can templatize events, which is what St. Jude does quite often, so they reuse templates over and over again, which is a great time saver if you have a lot of recurring events or even weekly events, weekly meet and greet type things or anything of that nature. Within the events tool, there's quite a bit to it. It's usually its own 45-minute demonstration, but a couple highlights is that it's not just meant to be an online registration tool. It's really supposed to help you with event logistics and planning and execution. So here we can see the event planning tab, where we can print out a run of show of all the different tasks that need to happen for an event. We can see a calendar view of when things are happening over multiple days if we have a serious event like this conference I'm taking a look at. And we can plan out who's going to do what, where they're going to do it, and what it's related to, and if there are any additional steps that go into that, we can note them here as well. This is all built using standard Salesforce functionality, so when I assign this to somebody, they're going to get an update about it, and they're going to know that it needs to be done and when it needs to be executed. These can be for things before, during, or after the event, so planning the event with this is very easy to do as well. We're going to be able to accommodate many different types of tickets. We can also accommodate different types of sessions, and sessions can be really powerful because what sessions allows you to do is define your agenda, what's going to happen and when, and all the different line items. For a gala, it might be just a few: registration, drinks and dancing, speaker, a silent auction, things of that nature. In this case, I have a conference with breakout sessions, and what I can actually do is choose a breakout session, click Manage, and now I can manage that, that particular session as its own sub-event. So I can get into a great deal of detail around a particular session. And the nice thing is it's not compulsory, so you don't have to do this. But if you need to, you can, which is really nice. And it's obviously, you can get into the same level of complexity at the session level as you can at the main event level. A couple other things: we can manage multiple venues. You can have as many venues as you'd like. Those would be the places the event is taking place. We also have a drag and drop seating tool, and what this allows you to do is floor plan for a gala type event, understand what the room is going to look like, and then create all the different tables you are going to have within the room, and then seat people appropriately next to whomever you'd like to have them sitting next to. So make sure your major donors are sitting next to your potential major donors, or board members are next to VIPs, etc. You can have as many seats at a table as you'd like. We can accommodate any type of table shape and seating here. We have various icons that allow you to do floor planning, so you can define where your bars are going to be, where your stage is going to be, make sure your lectern's in the appropriate place, and so forth. And we have many, many options here. So this tool becomes extremely powerful for galas, obviously, but it has other use cases which are really interesting that some of our clients have actually used the tool for that we weren't even aware of until they told us about it. So one of our clients does summer camps, and they use this to do to plan out the cabins where the children will stay for the summer camp. So they use these as bunkhouses, and then place all the kids in the bunkhouse using the drag and drop functionality, which is obviously extremely convenient. We've also seen it used for golf events, for foursomes, managing the different flights and who's going to be in what foursome. So for event planners, this becomes a really easy way to streamline a lot of the work they need to do around planning and logistics. And then finally, there's a web form for web registration. I'll actually show you one that that Alliance to Save Energy has built. This is actually just a template. They don't have any live events going on at the moment, but this is where we can see where they have event titles. It's all integrated with the rest of their website. You can purchase tickets as well as items if you're selling anything in addition. If multiple people register, they'll be able to enter their guest names, and they can choose all the information that they want to collect as part of this process: credit card or e-check if needed. That's optional, and collecting all that relevant information here. They have configured this to meet all their web design standards, and obviously Joe is a webmaster amongst many other things. So this is a more advanced version of some other forms, but this is where you can go with it, which is really impressive and really powerful for online registration. So with that, really brings us to the end of the demonstration I wanted to walk through today. There's a lot more to the tool we haven't been able to see yet. And if you'd like more information, I think there'll be some other additional opportunities announced at the end of the webinar today.
Great. Thank you, Stuart.
I was going to say thank you as well, Stuart and Joe and Nick. Really exciting to see this product. A couple things that the demo makes me think about just in terms of trends in the sector. First of all, with what you just showed us here, Stuart, there's a blurring between the online and the offline. And in the past, in systems, these were two very different worlds, and they could not come together. But now here in what you're showing us, there's not that distinction like there used to be, and that's really important because our constituents, they're not making that distinction either. They're interacting with most organizations, and these are businesses, online through their phones. They want to be able to have that same kind of easy relationship with the nonprofits that they support. Additionally, what I was noting here is, okay, you talked about constituent management. We can talk about major gifts and direct mail, et cetera, for fundraising events, but then bringing in the online, bringing in email, peer-to-peer, these things that are all possible on the Salesforce platform, and then more broadly, as we saw at the beginning, mission management, marketing and communications, collaborative tools, really opens up the possibility of a broad and deep CRM system. So with that, we want to thank everyone for being here today. I think we can stick around for a few minutes for Q&A, but we recognize that some of you will have to move along. So Brian, why don't we show the resources slide here for a minute and let people know what they can avail themselves of, and then we'll come back and stick around for questions from those who want to stay.
Okay, so hopefully those resources slides are showing for you there. These will all be distributed after. We'll be distributing the recording and links to all these resources on the site. Always a little tricky switching back and forth between presenters with GoToWebinar for us. We do have this information available. It's absolutely free. Just go ahead and download all these great papers. There's some links to more recent papers, some older ones, and videos as well. And all those are available at teamheller.com. Do you want to answer a couple questions? We'll stay on for a couple minutes more.
I am happy to answer the easy ones and pass along the rest.
Okay, great. And if we don't get to any of your questions, the people who have sent them in, we will definitely answer them afterwards. So one question that we have, Stuart, was about the donation forms. Are those mobile optimized? Are those able to be seen on mobile devices?
They are, and they'll respond to various screen sizes.
Okay, great. And then I'm sorry, I'm looking for a question here.
That mobile response piece is so important because I see again and again statistics that show that certain demographic groups only visit websites via their phone. It can be 50-60% in certain demographics, and so you want to have tools for interacting with your constituents that meet them where they are.
Oh, that's definitely really important. So another question here is NGOConnect available in a trial or developer edition?
It is available as a trial. I know a developer edition is on the way. I'm not sure if it's been released yet.
Okay, great. And then we had another question. I guess we have some developers here on the line. If you do know some coding, can you do some custom coding on the page, or is it only available on the forms to use the drag and drop interface?
If you're comfortable with web development, you can actually not do anything in the drag and drop and deploy everything within the HTML and JavaScript blocks that we have. So you can just plug in one HTML block and copy and paste your code, and it'll pop up with everything you have there.
Okay. And then another question, are we able to use our own merchant account to process transactions? And if not, what are the transactional fees for the Connect product?
Mm-hmm. So we have several different payment processors that are available for the solution right now. We're adding several more over the next few weeks and months. Right now we have IATS, PayPal, Sage, and Heartland. And so those are the only options at the moment, but there'll be more being added to the solution. If you really would like to keep yours, you can, as a configuration of the solution, build in your own. But that would come as an additional cost to your project.
That I want to highlight that flexibility has been very important for some of our clients. We actually have one organization that we helped adopt, NGOConnect, and they paid for the software and their entire project simply for the fact that they could switch payment processors because they've been so successful with their online fundraising, and the solution they'd been using had kind of locked them into a single payment processor that was very expensive. And when they saw the success online, they could fund a full change in their back office systems just by having that flexibility.
Okay. And then probably last question here, so we should wrap up with everyone. But here's an interesting one. How have former Razor's Edge users translated the campaign, fund, appeal, and package fields associated with gifts into NGOConnect fields?
Yeah, that is a great question. And we do have several Razor's Edge alumni using NGOConnect today. And so we have a couple things we didn't look at today in the solution, but we have something called general accounting units. So we can actually take all of your accounting units from your accounting software and import them into NGOConnect and store them there. And so often our clients will use those as their fund codes, and then they'll use the campaign name or the campaign source code as their appeal code. Other clients have chosen to replicate both coding fields within the solution. Those are configurations that can be made with custom fields. So it's up to the organization sort of to define how they like to use those, or how they like to retain that information. But it's been done a couple different ways so far.
Okay,
One
great.
nice thing about NGOConnect and Salesforce, you get flexibility, that's for sure.
Great. Well, I think that takes all of our time for today. We want to be respectful of all of those joining us here. We really appreciate you coming to join us today. We will have the recording available and the slides available for everyone. For those who we did not get to answer your questions, we will reply back to you directly and answer those. So thank you very much for sending those in, and we'll be happy to help you out. If you have any other questions, please send them to us at info@teamheller.com. And we will definitely respond back to you as quickly as possible. So thank you very much, Joe and Keith and Nick and Stuart. Great information from you today. And thank you everyone for joining us. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you. Thank you.